Hey everyone, I'm Caskey and thanks for checking into my channel. I'm getting ready for this weekend's worship set and I just wanted to take a few moments and show you my pedal board setup as it is right now. I've done a few changes on it and I'm really excited of how it sounds and just the overall convenience and usability of it. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of inspiration on your own board, or maybe just show you how I achieve some of the sounds for any given worship set. So if you're ready, let's jump in. All right guys, so here is the board. I'll walk you through the signal flow and how everything is routed, and then I will take it back around and I'll show you each pedal and a little sound of that, and just kind of how I get some of the sounds and how I use this in a worship setting on the weekends. So it all starts, well, let's start with the board. The board is actually a Gator G Tour. It's the large size. When I was first looking at these, I actually bought the extra large, but it is massive. I felt like I could have put my car in that thing. So I returned it and I ended up getting the large, which has worked out for me. I did a slight modification with it, and so what that is I actually run the power supplies underneath. This board is designed to come out, but I actually run the power supplies underneath and then I bring them out under here, plugging into each of the pedals. So underneath I have two power supplies. One of them is a Voodoo Labs Pedal Power 2 and the other one is a T-Rex Fuel Tank Junior, and both of those are giving all these pedals the power they need, with the exception of the Preamp Live, which has its own power supply, which I plug into a power adapter off to the side, which is okay, but it's just what it is and it works for now. So starting off, it comes into actually this line 6, the G5, and that's a wireless system. That comes then into the Keeley Compressor Plus, and out of the Compressor Plus comes into the Moore Tender Octaver, which is kind of like a POG clone, octave up, octave down type of thing. And then that goes into the Ryra clone pedal, which is kind of like Ryra's take on a Klon, and it sounds really good. Like that pedal a lot. And then that comes into the Moore Preamp Live, and this is pretty much kind of the hub of all the sounds that I get. I used to run just pedals into IRs, and that gets a really good sound, but I found it was missing just kind of that amp sound that this Moore Preamp Live seems to give me. And so I really like this pedal. I've only had it for about a month, but it's really versatile and it's really cool. I'll show you that. So that's pretty much taking place of all of my amp sounds. And then out of that comes into the volume pedal, which is a Dunlop X Mini volume pedal. Pretty straightforward. And then out of that into this X-Vive delay pedal, and that's pretty much an always on pedal. Just adds me a couple little echoes, more of kind of a slap, a little longer than a slap, but it just gives me a little bit of extra sustain and a little bit of depth to the sound. And then that comes in to this GFI Specular Tempest. This pedal is incredible. I saw this at NAMM show last year and played through it for a little while and was just really impressed with the features and the sounds. So I ended up picking one up and I really enjoy it a lot. And then this is just kind of a little tap tempo switch that comes into the GFI where I could tap the tempo in if needed, but most of the time I have it preset based on the songs that we're doing for the morning. And then that runs stereo out into these two Blue Guitar Blue boxes, and all this is just a box. It's a DI box with a bunch of impulse responses built into it. They're digital, and they just sound really good. I've been using impulse responses a lot with recording and playing live, and I'm just really impressed with how these ones sound. They have that extra sustain and feel that you sometimes lose with different IRs. So I really enjoy those a lot. And then that comes out right into the board, or in this case, coming out right into my interface, which is going into Logic for the time being. So that's the whole signal flow. Let's jump back up to the top and I'll show you kind of how I use it. So again, the compressor, the Keeley Comp Pro, or Plus, sorry, is on all the time. And I have the settings real low, just really light compression. You can see my sustain and blend are down. And I use the humbucker setting, and I just feel it sounds a little bit better. I add just a little tiny bit of tone to brighten it up, and then just a little extra level, which makes this more preamp live break up just a slight bit more, which just gives me more of that amp sound, more of that sustained sound that tends to be lacking from modelers like these. All right, so here is the clean sound. And then if I add the compressor in there, so you can see it just adds just a tiny bit of a volume bump, a little bit more breakup, and a little bit extra sustain, again, before and after. So that runs then into the more tender octaver, and I don't use this pedal a lot, but I do just for a specific song, sometimes for lead passages, if I want just a little bit extra sound or to pop out a little bit more from the mix, I will engage that, and that sounds like this. And then that runs into the Ryra clone pedal. This one I use just as a boost. I will boost that running into whatever channel I'm on, depending on the song for the worship set. And this preamp live actually has a boost built into it too. You could do a pre-boost or a post-boost. And I run a pre-boost on that as well. But I kind of toggle back and forth between these two boosts depending on the song, what kind of sound I want. This has more of a mid-range, kind of a big mid-range boost sound, and this just gives me a little bit more sustain and breakup with the boost. So I'll show you how that sounds on the clean channel here. So that's the Ryra clone, and then again, this is pretty much the main portion of all the sounds that I'm getting. I run from the light breakup to a heavy breakup, and again, I'm running a Vox amp modeler within this preset. It just sounds really, really good. I'm really happy with this, and let me just walk you through kind of the tonal range of how I use it. So here's the clean channel, and I'm on the neck pickup. A little bit more. So that's kind of how I use that, and if I'm playing a lead and I really need to jump out, I'll usually have the boost engaged, and then I'll hit the Ryra clone, and that'll really just kind of give me as much sustain as I need. I'll show you that real fast. Cool, and then that runs into the volume pedal, which I'll use for swells or just muting my signal entirely. And then that again comes into the X Vive, which I didn't have on during that demonstration, but I usually have this thing on all the time, and that adds just a little bit extra depth and a few little repeats to my sound, and it sounds like this. Cool, and then that runs into the Specular Tempest, and this is kind of where I get all the width and the dimension to the sound. I run everything stereo, and this is kind of what gives it that bigness. And this thing has a ton of different features. I usually just use it for reverb and delay, and most of the time, about 80% of the time, I'm just using reverb. I have the first channel here, which sounds like this. And then here is the neck pickup. And then I go switch to channel B, and that is more of a shimmer. So it sounds like this. Bridge. And then that splits into the blue guitar, and I'm running left and right into the house, or again in this case into the interface, into the DAW, and I'm just running a Vox IR cabinet within this. When I'm recording, sometimes I'll switch the cabs, different one left, then I have right, but right now I'm just using both the Vox cabinet settings, and I find that to just work best for me in the room that we are playing in, and then also just for recording cases too. It just sounds really good. And then finally there's this mic position on the blue box, which all the way left they call it edge, all the way right they call it center. I just think of it as dark and bright, and depending on what guitar I'm using for the morning, I will adjust that setting. Majority of the time I'm using the same guitar, which is my Warmoth parts caster here, and so I pretty much just leave these settings the same. This works best for this guitar. But if you're using a guitar with some humbuckers that has a little bit warmer, darker sound, you can kick that a little to the right and it'll brighten up the tone. Just really versatile for whatever you're doing. All right, so there you go. That's my pedal board for right now. I'm really excited with it. Sounds great, and just the convenience and usability of it is awesome. So if this video has been helpful for you, please consider subscribing so you can stay up to date with more videos that are going to be coming out. And please also like the video, the thumbs up. That really helps me out. If there are any pedals that you want me to do in a separate video explaining a little bit more, please leave that in the comments below. I'd be happy to do that. Or if you just have any questions in general about anything that I talked about, I'd be happy to answer those out as well. Hey, I hope that this has helped you out. I'll catch you on the next video.